Lily stepped off the bus, breathing in the familiar scent of her hometown. After 4 years away at college, everything looked smaller somehow, but comfortingly familiar. The main street hadn't changed, same old bakery, same faded movie theater sign, same friendly faces nodding hello. She adjusted her backpack and began the short walk home, feeling a mix of nostalgia and uncertainty about being back. She hadn't planned to return after graduation, but the job market proved tougher than expected. When her parents offered her old room while she figured things out, practical concerns won over pride. Besides, she missed her family, especially her sister Rose. Growing up, the sisters had been inseparable despite their differences. Where Lily was thoughtful and reserved, Rose was bold and spontaneous. They balanced each other perfectly, though sometimes that balance tipped into competition, especially when it came to boys. But that was just normal sister stuff, Lily told herself. Water under the bridge now that they were adults. The family home appeared around the corner. A modest 2-story with the same faded blue paint and white trim. As Lily approached, the front door flew open and Rose came running out, her dark hair flying behind her. You're finally home. Rose threw her arms around Lily, squeezing tight. At 23, Rose was 2 years younger, but seemed much more confident in her place in the world. She worked at the local credit union and had her own apartment downtown. Can't breathe, Lily laughed, dropping her bag to return the hug properly. Their parents appeared in the doorway, Mom wiping her hands on her apron, Dad with his reading glasses perched on his head. More hugs followed, along with the familiar smell of Mom's special welcome home lasagna. Inside, the house was exactly as Lily remembered, comfortable, slightly cluttered, walls lined with family photos documenting their growth. She noticed a few new pictures had been added since her last visit at Christmas. How was the trip? Her mother asked, bustling around the kitchen. You must be starving. I'm fine, Mom. The bus wasn't bad. Rose pulled Lily to the couch. Forget the trip. Tell me everything about graduation. I want to hear about the parties, the guys, everything. Their father cleared his throat. I'll just go get the rest of your bags, he said, making a quick exit. Lily laughed. Not much to tell, honestly. I was too busy finishing my thesis to party much. Boring. Rose rolled her eyes. Well, I have news that's definitely not boring. She lowered her voice and leaned closer, eyes sparkling with excitement. I've met someone, and it's serious. Really? That's great, Lily said, genuinely happy for her sister. Rose had always jumped from relationship to relationship, never seeming to find someone who kept her interest for long. He's perfect, Lily. Smart, kind, absolutely gorgeous. Rose sighed dreamily. We've been dating for 3 months now. Mom and Dad already love him. Their mother smiled from the kitchen. He's a very nice young man. What's his name? Do I know him? Lily asked. I don't think so. He moved here about a year ago, but you'll meet him tomorrow. I invited him to your welcome home dinner. Rose squeezed Lily's hands. I really think he might be the one. Something in Rose's expression made Lily believe her. Her sister looked truly happy, glowing even. Lily felt a small twinge of envy, not for the boyfriend specifically, but for Rose's certainty. After 4 years of education, Lily had a degree but no real direction. I can't wait to meet him, Lily said, pushing aside her thoughts. This visit was about reconnecting with family and figuring out her next steps. Romance was the last thing on her mind. Little did she know how quickly that would change. The morning sun streamed through the curtains as Lily woke up in her childhood bedroom. She stretched and listened to the familiar sounds of the house, her father's deep laugh, the radio playing in the kitchen, dishes clinking. It felt strange to be back, like stepping into an old photograph. After showering and dressing in jeans and a light blue top, Lily headed downtown to pick up a few things she'd forgotten to pack. The small main street hadn't changed much since high school. She paused outside the old bookstore, drawn by habit to check the display window. Lily, is that you? She turned at the sound of a male voice and found herself looking up into warm brown eyes that seemed vaguely familiar. The tall man smiled, and recognition clicked into place. James, she said, surprised. He nodded, his smile widening. I thought that was you. Welcome back to town. James Parker had been 2 years ahead of Lily in school. She remembered him as a quiet, bookish basketball player who rarely spoke to underclassmen. Now he stood before her looking very different: broader shoulders, a short beard, and a confidence he hadn't possessed as a teenager. "Thanks. I just graduated college," she said, suddenly aware of how the sun brought out golden highlights in his hair. "Congratulations. English literature, right? You were always reading something." Lily blinked, surprised he remembered. "You have a good memory." "For some things." He gestured to the coffee shop across the street. "Have time for a cup? I'd love to hear what you've been up to." Something about his easy smile made it impossible to refuse. Inside the coffee shop, they grabbed a small table by the window, and conversation flowed surprisingly well. James had finished college 2 years ago and now worked as a physical therapist at the local clinic. "I love it here," he explained, hands wrapped around his mug. "I thought about staying in the city after school, but something about this place pulled me back." Lily nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. "It has its charms. Though I wasn't planning to stay long." "No. What's next for you then?" Their conversation wandered through books they'd both read, places they wanted to travel, and memories of high school. Lily found herself laughing more than she had in months. There was something about James that made her feel both comfortable and slightly breathless at the same time. "Want to walk by the river?" he suggested when they finished their drinks. The day was too beautiful to waste indoors. Along the tree-lined path by the water, their shoulders occasionally brushed. Each accidental touch sent a small thrill through Lily that she tried to ignore. They stopped at a bench overlooking the water, talking as the afternoon slipped away. "I love how the water changes color with the sky," James said, looking out at the river. When Lily turned to respond, she found him watching her instead, a strange intensity in his eyes. For a moment neither spoke. Something shifted in the air between them, a current of awareness that made Lily's heart beat faster. James leaned slightly closer, and she caught the faint scent of his cologne. "I should probably head back," she said abruptly, breaking the moment. "My family's having a dinner tonight." "Of course." He smiled, though something like disappointment flickered across his face. "It was really good seeing you, Lily." "You too, James." As they walked back toward town, he asked for her number. "Maybe we could do this again while you're in town." She agreed without hesitation, saving his contact in her phone. When they parted ways, Lily couldn't stop smiling. She hadn't expected to connect with anyone from her past, especially not someone who made her feel so instantly comfortable. Walking home, she wondered about the warm flutter in her chest. It had been a while since she'd felt drawn to someone this way. Just as she rounded the corner to her street, her phone buzzed with a text from Rose. "Can't wait for you to meet my boyfriend tonight. You'll love him." Lily smiled at her sister's enthusiasm, pushing thoughts of James aside. Tonight was about Rose and her new relationship. But as Lily approached her house, she couldn't quite shake the memory of James's eyes watching her, or the way her name sounded when he said it. Lily spent the afternoon helping her mother prepare for dinner, chopping vegetables and setting the table while her thoughts kept drifting back to James. She hadn't expected to meet anyone interesting during her short stay in town, and certainly not someone who made her pulse quicken with just a look. "Earth to Lily," her mother said, waving a hand in front of her face. "That's the third time you've smiled at nothing. Something on your mind." "Just happy to be home," Lily replied, feeling her cheeks warm. She wasn't ready to mention James, especially with Rose's boyfriend coming to dinner. The doorbell rang promptly at 6. Lily smoothed her dress and followed her mother to the entryway, curious to meet the man who had captured her sister's heart. Rose beat them both to the door, flinging it open with excitement. "You're right on time," Rose beamed, leaning in for a kiss. And there, standing in the doorway with a bottle of wine and a stunned expression, was James. Time seemed to stop. Lily froze, unable to process what she was seeing. James's eyes widened when he spotted her, his smile faltering for just a second before recovering. "Lily, this is James," Rose said proudly, oblivious to the tension. "James, my sister Lily, the college graduate I've been telling you about." James extended his hand, his fingers brushing against Lily's palm in a handshake that lasted a beat too long. "Nice to meet you," he said formally, though his eyes conveyed much more. "You too." Lily managed, her voice sounding distant even to her own ears. Dinner was an exercise in torture. Lily pushed food around her plate, barely tasting anything as Rose chatted happily, telling stories about how she and James had met at a community fundraiser. Each time Rose touched his arm or smiled at him, Lily felt a strange twist in her stomach. "So Lily, Rose tells me you studied English," James said during a lull in conversation, carefully neutral. Lily nodded, meeting his eyes. "Yes. I've always loved books." "James is a huge reader too," Rose interjected. "You two actually have a lot in common. If only you knew," Lily thought, remembering their conversation by the river just hours ago. After dinner, their father suggested drinks on the back porch. As everyone moved outside, James briefly touched Lily's elbow, holding her back. "I had no idea," he whispered when they were alone. Rose never mentioned her sister's name. "It's fine," Lily said stiffly, though it was anything but fine. The excitement she'd felt earlier had curdled into something uncomfortable. "Is it?" James's gaze was intense, because this afternoon was a nice catch-up between old classmates, Lily finished firmly, nothing more. James opened his mouth to respond, but Rose appeared in the doorway. "What are you two whispering about?" "Just getting to know each other," James said smoothly, moving toward Rose and draping an arm around her shoulders. Later, after James had gone and Rose had retired to her room, Lily sat alone on the porch swing, trying to sort through her jumbled emotions. The cool night air did little to clear her head. She pulled out her phone, seeing James's contact information from earlier that day. What would have happened if they'd met again without Rose in the picture? The question plagued her. Her phone buzzed with a text message. "James. Asterisk, I really had no idea this afternoon. I'm sorry, asterisk." Lily stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Another message appeared. Asterisk, I haven't been able to stop thinking about our conversation by the river, asterisk. Her fingers hovered over the keypad. She should ignore it. She should delete his number and forget the connection she thought they had. Instead, she typed, asterisk, me either. But it doesn't matter now, asterisk. His response came quickly. Asterisk, doesn't it, asterisk. Lily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of an impossible situation settling over her. In just one day, everything had become complicated in ways she never could have imagined. She loved her sister dearly, but for the first time in her life, she found herself wishing Rose had never met James Parker. The next few days passed in a haze of discomfort for Lily. She avoided the house as much as possible, taking long walks around town and spending hours at the local library. Anything to escape the possibility of bumping into James when he came to visit Rose. She hadn't responded to his last text message, and he hadn't sent another. On Thursday evening, Rose cornered her in the kitchen. "What's going on with you? You've been acting weird since you got home." Lily forced a smile. "Just job hunting stress." "Well, take a break tonight. I'm making dinner for us and James at my apartment. I want my two favorite people to get to know each other better." The thought of spending an entire evening watching Rose and James together made Lily's stomach knot. "I'm not sure. Please, it's important to me." Rose's hopeful expression made refusal impossible. "Fine, what time?" Rose's apartment was small but cozy, decorated with bright colors and photos of family and friends. Lily arrived 15 minutes early, hoping to help prepare, but found James already there, chopping vegetables while Rose stirred something on the stove. "Lily," Rose greeted her with a hug. "Perfect timing. Can you open the wine?" James brought a really nice red. James nodded hello, his eyes lingering on Lily's face before returning to his task. The three of them moved around the kitchen in an awkward dance, Rose chattering to fill the silence, while Lily and James carefully avoided touching or looking directly at each other. Dinner was even worse. Rose kept mentioning things James and Lily had in common. Their love of classic novels, hiking, old jazz music, clearly hoping they would bond. Each shared interest felt like a small cut, reminding Lily of their afternoon together. "Did James tell you he used to volunteer at the same animal shelter you did in high school?" Rose asked, serving dessert. "No," Lily said quietly. "We haven't discussed our volunteer work." James looked up sharply, catching the double meaning in her words. They hadn't discussed anything really since discovering the truth. After dinner, Rose excused herself to take a work call, leaving Lily and James alone in the living room. The silence stretched between them, tense and heavy. "This is impossible," James finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily glanced toward the bedroom where Rose had disappeared. "We shouldn't be having this conversation." "What conversation? I'm just saying the situation is awkward." He moved closer on the couch. "But I can't stop thinking about what might have been if we'd met again under different circumstances." "Don't," Lily warned, though her body betrayed her as she leaned slightly toward him. "You feel it too. I know you do." His hand moved to rest beside hers, their pinky fingers almost touching. "It doesn't matter what I feel. Rose is my sister." James closed his eyes briefly. "I care about Rose. She's amazing, kind, funny, beautiful. But with you?" He let the sentence hang unfinished. "With me what?" Lily asked, even though she knew she shouldn't. "With you, it's different." Like a conversation that was paused years ago and picked up exactly where we left off. They were sitting closer now, neither quite remembering moving. The air between them felt charged with possibility and guilt. "I need to go," Lily said suddenly, standing up. Just then, Rose returned. "Everything okay? You look flushed." "Headache." Lily lied. "I think I need to head home." "I'll drive you," James offered immediately. Rose frowned slightly. "I can take her." "No need to end your night early," James said. "I need to head out anyway. Early client tomorrow." Rose looked between them, a strange expression crossing her face. "All right. I'll call you tomorrow, Lily." The ride to Lily's house was silent until they parked a block away. "We need to talk about this," James said, turning to face her. "There's nothing to talk about." Lily reached for the door handle, but James gently caught her wrist. "Lily, please." She turned back, and in the dim light of the car their eyes met. For a moment neither moved. Then James slowly leaned forward, his lips just inches from hers. Lily's phone buzzed loudly, breaking the spell. A text from Rose. "Did you get home, ok? Love you, sis." The guilt hit Lily like a physical blow. "I can't do this," she whispered, opening the car door and stepping out into the cool night air. Lily couldn't sleep that night, tossing and turning as her mind replayed the almost kiss in James's car. By morning, she had made a decision. She needed to leave town, at least for a few days, to clear her head. She told her parents she was visiting a college friend in the next city over and would be back in a few days. Rose called just as Lily was packing her overnight bag. "Mom said you're leaving? What's going on?" "Just visiting Amber for the weekend. We've been planning it since before graduation," Lily lied, hating how easily the words came. "Oh." Rose paused. "I thought. Never mind. Have fun, I guess." The hurt in her sister's voice made Lily's chest tighten. "Is everything okay, Rose?" "Sure. Why wouldn't it be?" Rose's tone was artificially bright. "Call me when you get back." The drive to Amber's apartment took 2 hours, giving Lily plenty of time to think. She hadn't actually told Amber she was coming, but her friend welcomed her with open arms and a cold glass of wine. "So who is he?" Amber asked after Lily had settled in. "What? Who?" "The guy you're running away from. Don't give me that look. I've known you since freshman year. This has heartbreak written all over it." Lily sighed and told Amber everything, meeting James, the dinner, the almost kiss. Saying it out loud made the situation seem even more impossible. "That's..." Amber searched for the right word. "Complicated." "I know, I feel terrible. I've never been interested in the same guy as Rose before. Not seriously anyway." "And you're sure it's serious? Not just physical attraction?" Lily thought about how easy conversation had been with James, how he remembered details about her from high school, how time seemed to stop when they were together. "I'm sure." Her phone buzzed with a text. "James. Can we talk? Please. She showed Amber the message. "What do I do?" "Ignore it," Amber advised. "At least until you decide what you really want." For 2 days, Lily managed to focus on spending time with Amber, exploring the city, and avoiding thoughts of James and Rose. On Sunday morning, as she was preparing to drive home, her phone rang. Rose's number. "Hey, what's up?" Lily answered casually. "When are you coming back?" Rose's voice sounded strange, strained. "I'm leaving in an hour. Why?" "We need to talk. In person." Fear crept up Lily's spine. About what? Just come to my apartment when you get back. Not mom and dad's, my place. The drive home felt twice as long with anxiety as her companion. When Lily finally arrived at Rose's apartment, she found her sister sitting rigidly on the couch, eyes red from crying. Rose, what happened? How long? Rose asked, her voice eerily calm. How long what? How long have you and James been seeing each other behind my back? Lily's stomach dropped. We're not. Don't lie to me. Rose's composure broke, her voice rising. I saw the texts on his phone. I can't stop thinking about our conversation by the river. What conversation, Lily? When were you even together? It's not what you think, Lily said desperately. We ran into each other downtown the day before I met him at dinner. I didn't know he was your boyfriend. And after you knew, what about the night he drove you home from here? Lily swallowed hard. Nothing happened. But you wanted it too. It wasn't a question. I saw how you looked at him, how he looked at you. Tears filled Lily's eyes. Rose, I swear I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I would never hurt you intentionally. But you did hurt me. Rose stood up, arms wrapped around herself. James came clean yesterday. He told me he has feelings for you. The words hung in the air between them. Lily felt simultaneously horrified and shamefully a flutter of hope. Where is he now? Lily asked quietly. I told him I needed space. From both of you, actually. Rose wiped her eyes. You're my sister, my best friend. How could you do this? The accusation hit Lily like a physical blow. I didn't do anything, Rose. I was going to leave town. I was trying to do the right thing. The right thing would have been telling me the truth from the beginning. Rose moved toward the door. I think you should go now. I can't look at you right now without feeling sick. Rose, please. Just go. As the door closed behind her, Lily felt her world collapsing. She had lost her sister's trust and possibly her love, all for feelings she had tried so hard to fight. Lily sat in her car outside Rose's apartment building for nearly an hour, tears streaming down her face. She had texted Rose 3 times, apologies, please to talk, with no response. Finally, she drove home, relieved to find the house empty. She couldn't face her parents' questions right now. Her phone buzzed with a message from James. Asterisk, can I see you? We need to talk about what happened, asterisk. Lily stared at the screen, torn between anger and longing. Asterisk, why did you tell her, asterisk, she typed back. Asterisk, she deserved the truth. I couldn't keep lying to her. Pleased, just 30 minutes. The park by the river, asterisk. Against her better judgment, Lily agreed to meet him. The same spot where they had sat and talked that first day. It seemed like a lifetime ago now. James was already waiting on the bench when she arrived, hands clasped between his knees, looking as miserable as she felt. I'm sorry, he said when she sat down, leaving considerable space between them. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. What exactly did you tell her? Lily asked, watching a pair of ducks glide across the river's surface. That I met you downtown and felt a connection, that I was confused about my feelings. He paused. That nothing physical happened between us, but that emotionally, something had. Lily closed her eyes briefly, and now Rose hates both of us. She's hurt. She has every right to be. They sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. What happens now? Lily finally asked. James turned to face her. I don't know. I care about Rose. She's wonderful, but I can't stop thinking about you, and that's not fair to her. So you broke up with her? We're taking a break, in her words. He ran a hand through his hair. This is such a mess. I never wanted to come between sisters. Neither did I. Lily's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Asterisk, your Aunt Carol just had a heart attack. Dad and I are driving to the hospital. Call Rose and tell her, asterisk. Lily gasped, showing James the message. You should call her, he said immediately. Lily nodded, dialing Rose's number with shaking hands. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again with the same result. She's not answering. I need to go to her apartment. Lily stood up, suddenly frantic. Aunt Carol was especially close to Rose. They shared a birthday and had always had a special bond. I'll drive you, James offered. They drove in tense silence to Rose's building. Lily knocked repeatedly on the door with no answer. Just as she was about to give up, the elevator opened and Rose stepped out, grocery bags in hand. She froze when she saw Lily and James together. "What are you two doing here?" Her voice was ice cold. "Aunt Carol had a heart attack," Lily said quickly. "Mom and Dad are headed to the hospital. I tried calling but—" "Oh my God." Rose's anger instantly transformed to fear. She dropped her grocery bags. "Is she okay? We need to go." "I'll drive you both," James offered, picking up the fallen groceries. Rose hesitated, then nodded stiffly. The drive to the hospital was silent except for Rose's occasional sniff, as she fought back tears. Lily wanted desperately to comfort her sister, but didn't know if her touch would be welcome. In the hospital waiting room, they found their parents looking exhausted. "She's in surgery," their father explained. "The next few hours are critical." Rose began to cry in earnest then. Instinctively, Lily wrapped an arm around her shoulders. To her surprise, Rose didn't pull away but leaned into her, just like when they were children and one of them was hurt or scared. James quietly excused himself. "I'll get coffee for everyone," he murmured, clearly recognizing the sisters needed space. Hours passed in the sterile brightness of the waiting room. Their parents took turns checking in with the nurses, while Lily and Rose sat side by side, the urgency of Aunt Carol's condition temporarily overshadowing their own conflict. Near midnight, a doctor finally emerged with cautiously good news. Aunt Carol had survived the surgery and was stable, though still critical. As relief washed over them, Rose turned to Lily, her eyes red but clearer. "I still can't believe what happened between us," she said quietly. "But you're my sister. No matter what, you're my sister." Lily felt tears spring to her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Rose. I never wanted to hurt you." Rose took a deep breath. "I know. We're going to have to figure this out, but not tonight. Tonight, I'm just glad you're here." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. As they sat in the dim light of the hospital waiting room, Lily realized that whatever happened with James, her relationship with Rose was too precious to lose. Aunt Carol's recovery over the next 2 weeks brought the family together despite the lingering tension. Lily and Rose took turns sitting with her, rarely overlapping to avoid uncomfortable silences. James kept his distance from both sisters, sending only a bouquet of flowers to Carol with a card signed simply, "Wishing you a speedy recovery." On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Lily was gathering her things to leave the hospital when Rose arrived earlier than expected for her shift. They exchanged awkward smiles as they passed in the doorway of Carol's room. "She's sleeping," Lily whispered. "The nurse just gave her something for pain." Rose nodded, then surprised Lily by asking, "Want to grab coffee in the cafeteria before you go?" The sisters sat across from each other, steam rising from their paper cups. Neither spoke at first, the weight of unsaid words hanging between them. "I miss you," Rose finally said, staring into her coffee. "I'm still hurt and confused, but I miss my sister." Lily's throat tightened. "I miss you too, more than I can say." "Have you seen him?" Rose asked, her voice carefully neutral. "No, not since that night here at the hospital." Lily hesitated. "Have you?" "Once. We met for coffee and decided to end things officially." Rose's fingers traced the rim of her cup. "It wasn't going to work, not after everything." "I'm sorry." "Are you?" Rose looked up, her gaze direct. "Because sometimes I wonder if you're secretly happy things worked out this way." The accusation stung. "How can you think that? I've been miserable seeing you hurt, knowing I had a part in causing it." "But you still have feelings for him." Lily couldn't lie. "Yes. But I haven't acted on them, and I won't." "Because he was mine first?" "That's not how love works, Lily." Rose's expression softened slightly. "We can't help who we're drawn to." They sat in silence for a moment, the hospital sounds creating a buffer around their private conversation. "What do we do now?" Lily finally asked. "I don't know." Rose traced a water ring on the table. "But I do know I don't want to lose my sister over a man, even one I thought I might love." That evening, Lily returned home to find James sitting on the front porch steps. Her heart jumped at the sight of him, then immediately filled with guilt. "What are you doing here?" she asked, keeping her distance. "I needed to see you." He stood but didn't move closer. "I've been thinking about us, about Rose, about everything." There is no us, James. There could be, in time, his eyes were earnest. Rose and I are over, we both know it's for the best. It's not that simple. Lily wrapped her arms around herself. She's my sister. I know. And I would never ask you to choose. He took a step forward. But at some point we all have to follow our hearts, don't we? Otherwise, what's the point of any of this? And what does your heart tell you? Lily asked, afraid of the answer. That what I felt with you that day by the river was real. That I've never connected with anyone that way before. He reached for her hand. That it's worth waiting for if you need time. Lily looked at his outstretched hand, remembering Rose's words from earlier. We can't help who we're drawn to. I need time, she said finally, and Rose needs time too. This isn't just about us. James nodded, understanding in his eyes. I'll wait, however long it takes. 1 year later, autumn leaves crunched under Lily's feet as she walked along the riverbank. She checked her watch and quickened her pace, not wanting to be late. At the familiar bench, Rose was already waiting, a tall cup of hot chocolate in each hand. Sorry I'm late, Lily said, accepting the cup her sister offered. You're always late, Rose teased, the easy affection in her voice a testament to how far they'd come. They sat together, watching the river flow. Their relationship had slowly healed over months of honest conversations, tears, and eventually laughter. Some scars remained, but the bond between them had proven stronger than either had realized. He called me yesterday, Rose said suddenly. He's moving back to town next month. Lily's heart skipped. Oh, I told him you're seeing that guy from your work. Seeing. We broke up last week. Rose raised an eyebrow. Convenient timing. Pure coincidence, Lily insisted, though her cheeks warmed. Well, whatever happens, Rose said, linking her arm through Lily's. We're okay, right? Lily leaned her head against her sister's shoulder. Always. As they sat watching the river change colors with the setting sun, Lily realized that love came in many forms. The love between sisters, complex, sometimes painful, but enduring. And perhaps, when the time was right, there might be room for other kinds of love too. But for now, this moment, this healing, was enough.